Why do I get sleepy after I touch myself? Cimoooooooo! What's going on, guys? It's Cimo. Now today I'm going to be bringing to you your monthly November question and answer. So all of you guys in the last video that I put up about a week ago asked a bunch of questions that you want me to answer, and so I picked some of the ones that I thought were either the funniest or the most interesting, or anything like that, and we're gonna go ahead and give you all the answers that you want. And just remember, if you want your question to be featured in next month's Q&A, be sure to leave it in the comments below, and if you thumbs up other questions, the ones with the thumbs up are more than likely gonna be answered, because those are the ones that you guys really want to know. So, without further ado, we're gonna get right into it. So to start off, we have our Patreon questions. So first off, we have Asdrarios asking, if you had to design an entire archetype based solely on one Yu-Gi-Oh! GX's character design, personality, mannerisms, which character would it be, and what would the archetype be like? And if you haven't watched GX, use the original series instead. So this is a similar question to something that Harpy King actually asked, which is, which anime exclusive archetype would you like to see be made? So I'm going to kind of merge these two questions together. So, the one archetype that I really want to exist in the game is the armor archetype, played by Valen in Waking the Dragons, I think it was. That archetype to me seems so fucking cool, because it's a bunch of really tiny zero attack monsters, but they all have these really busted effects, and there's really insane spell cards in the archetype that'll let you do this busted fucking shit, look at the top 20 cards of your deck and pick 5. The room that they would have for the creativity in that archetype would be so incredibly amazing that I would really love if the armor archetype did come into existence. And I'll probably do a whole video on that as well, because if you guys aren't too familiar with it, it's pretty fucking badass. One other Patreon question we had was from Ace Carter. He asked, what's your favorite monster that has meaning to you? This kind of gets paired with another question that a couple people asked, which is, what's my favorite monster / card altogether? So again, I'll kind of pair these two together. So my favorite monster / card, I guess I have two. I guess one of, there's so many that I could think of, because there's so many just I guess cards, whether they have nostalgic value for me, or some significance, anything like that. But I guess if I had to pick, it probably comes down to one of two, being either Breaker the Magical Warrior, or Neospacian Grand Mole, and there's really no reason. I just love Breaker's artwork. It's such a badass looking card, and the effect of it is just, it's a really strong effect, especially way back in the day before, we had all the crazy shit we have now. And Neospacian Grand Mole is just a really cool card because it just has a really interesting kind of bouncing mechanic, and just is a really good kind of tempo card if you're ahead. I know now we have a completely different format where stuff can either dodge effects or it can't be, it's a completely different format, compared to a few years ago when hat format, when Grand Mole was actually kind of viable. But nonetheless, it's still two of my favorite cards, and yeah, for really no reason. Neospacian Grand Mole does come in Ultimate Rare, and it looks pretty fucking cool too. So I have to say either Breaker or Grand Mole in that instance. James Polk asks, when will you continue to do more Tech Tuesdays? I really miss those segments. So I kind of announced this in a video a while back that Tech Tuesday hasn't really gone anywhere. I kind of just changed the name of it to, how good is, this card rather than Tech Tuesday this card. And the reason for that is Tech Tuesday, limiting a card to being called a tech is it's very limiting for me, because it kind of has to fill this niche role, whereas the way I do it now, I can talk about whatever card I want, and people aren't really confused when I say, if I were to say Dimensional Barrier is a tech card, since that's the last episode I did, everyone's basically going to go in the comments saying, oh, Dimensional Barrier is not a tech card, what the fuck are you talking about? So I kind of felt aside from the fact that I don't want to do solely tech cards, I also didn't want to limit myself to just doing stuff on Tuesday, because if there's a card I want to talk about any day of the week, I feel like I should be able to. So that's kind of what happened to Tech Tuesday. I know it's not as catchy as Tech Tuesday, because that just sounds really cool, but it technically didn't really go anywhere. It's still, it's still there. It's just pretty much a more generic card discussion with a less, I guess, catchy name, if you want to put it that way. Alinthio asks, your highest place in a tournament. So I've actually never topped an event. I've topped several I've bubbled, there we go. I've bubbled several regionals, but again, I don't really count that for much because regionals are kind of just like weird in general because there's so much rogue and there's all this other stuff going on. Unless you count like LA regionals or a really large regional. Like that, I would really count that as something significant. Funny enough, the last YCS Anaheim this past weekend was actually when I think that was probably my most successful competitive event. I went X3 after round 8, which if I would have actually gotten one more win, I would have made it to day 2, because you just had to be X2 going into the second day to continue on, because you the way they changed it, there was 9 rounds, but then there was 8, so you only needed 2 wins. Regardless of the case, yeah, so I was actually pretty proud of that. I wasn't really expecting to even do well, and I ended up going, I was like 4-0, and then I got 4-1, and then 5-1, and then I went 5-3 from there. But it was really fun, and it was, for me, I was happy with myself, because again, I had 0 expectations. I didn't prepare as much as I wanted to, but so yeah, going X3 after round 8, I'm perfectly content with that. Saul Davila asks, in the premium gold set, what are your top 3 cards to be reprinted in gold? I want Blood Mephist because it's the prize card that hasn't been reprinted yet, and they reprinted Giant Hand before it, which doesn't make sense. I want Minerva in there just to troll everyone who already has Minervas, because that would be the funniest thing ever. And I also want MX Saber Invoker in there as well, because that is a card that definitely needs a reprint of some kind. I was expecting one in the OTS pack, but the fact that they didn't was a little bit weird. But MX Saber Invoker is a card that definitely deserves a premium gold reprint. Michael Anzulavich, I probably completely butchered your last name, says, are you seeing anyone, and if so, can we meet her? Maybe. Maybe one day. See if we can convince her to do a video on camera. Maybe something that like Nim did or anything like that. That'd be pretty cool. Tom Gaming 234 asks, why did you start making YouTube videos? So this is a really funny story, actually. This was like 3 years ago, probably. I remember just watching YouTube stuff. I kind of came off of my hiatus of the game and got back into it. And I'm watching a lot of YouTube content to catch myself back up. And I'm gathering information, and I'm stumbled across MCole40, who I remember from a long time ago, but I started watching some of his videos again. And it's really funny. It's no shots fired at Robbie. Robbie and I are really cool. And it was really funny because I'm watching it, and I'm like, his information is really good, but I'm really fucking bored just watching this, because it just wasn't really entertaining. He was giving some incredibly good, information because he's a very experienced player, but it wasn't being delivered in a way that's really captivating an audience. So I figured, I could do this, but I could also do it at a very, energetic, hyper, I guess hyper is appropriate, hyper way, and keep people interested. And so, 2.5 years later, here we are. Galactic God asks, if you could choose one character from any Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime series to do a full series spin-off, who would you pick and why? Duke Devlin, Dungeon Dice Monsters, I wish that was just, an entire whole season, because I just love that, 4-episode little, just aside, I guess. That whole thing was fucking epic. I have Dungeon Dice Monsters from Japan. I mean, I just love that whole idea. That was really, really cool. Mr. Toxic Voltage asks, what's your opinion on Zodiac Beasts? The deck's fucking broken. That's pretty much all there is to it. That Italian follower asks, will you ever come to Italy? I'd love to meet you. I would love to go to Italy. I'm half Italian, and I love Italian food, so that would just be fucking epic. So if I'm ever in Italy or somewhere in Europe, I'll definitely let you guys know. Jerry Streed asks, do you think the format and game state could be shaken up in a positive way by doing a massive ban list, or massive unlimiting of cards? And then he goes on to list a bunch of them. I've always advocated that probably half of the ban list doesn't need to exist, and Konami's just very slow to adjust that, because whether they're afraid of what might happen or anything like that, but definitely they could axe half the ban list and the format would still be relatively the same. DZeef asks, why haven't we done a live stream together? Yes, let's definitely make that happen. Arjen Zweers asks, what was your reaction when you opened your very first booster pack? So this was actually really cool, because I was really little when I started this game. I obviously didn't have a lot of money to just go out and buy packs or singles or anything like that, but I remember my dad bought me a couple packs of Pharaoh's Servant, and I'm not sure if this is the first pack I ever opened, but it's the first one I remember anyway. And the first pack I opened had an ultra rare Call of the Haunted, and that was really fucking cool. And then I think the second one had a Ceasefire, which is another ultra rare, and getting ultras back then was crazy. And I think the third one either had a Jinzo or another Ultra. I don't remember, but it was like the fucking greatest 4 packs to ever open, and being a little kid, I was ecstatic. Ben Essex asks, do you have any really funny story involving another Yu-Gi tuber? Oh, I definitely do. So, when we were at Nationals this year, 2016, if you're watching this a different year, so what happened was, I was staying with Gage or Nim Nim, and we were together just hanging out the whole time, walking around the venue, stuff like that, and one after another, people would come up to me asking me to sign stuff or take pictures with them or anything like that, and when people would ask me to sign stuff, I didn't actually have a Sharpie with me, and I would have to ask Gage for his Sharpie, and the funny part is, no one knew who the fuck Gage was, so every time I'm just like, oh Gage, can I borrow your Sharpie? And he would just give me this look like, just like, fuck you, like, just totally fuck off look, and it just kept happening one person after another, after another, after another. Gage has even been in a tournament where he noticed me in his token, and they didn't know who he was, so it's really fucking funny that, Gage and I have that kind of, like, thing going on, so it's a little inside joke between us. Anytime you see, like, us on Zodiac or anything saying, who are you, type thing, now you know why. Nathaniel the Otaku asks, who did you vote for? Stratos, obviously. I made a whole video about it. Predator Magnus asks, do you dye your hair and beard? No, it's just naturally 2 different colors. Don't understand it either. Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist 1993 asks, are you going to be at the Henderson, Nevada Regional on January 21st? Yes, I will be, so if you're gonna go, I'll see you there. Sam Spurlock asks, what's the likelihood of you starting your own weekly or even bi-weekly podcast? I think after hearing you on Yu-Gi-Oh! And Chill, opened a lot of people's eyes to how good a podcast could be done by you. So I never really thought of the idea of doing a podcast because I'm already making videos so many times a week as it is. But if, you know, a podcast is something that you guys would like me to do, I'd definitely be open to the idea of it because, I mean, I love talking about this game and I love interacting with a bunch of other people, so I'm definitely open to it. Electric Crazy asks, what was your major in school? So I studied communication studies, that's what my bachelor's degree is in. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's kind of like a giant hybrid of psychology, sociology, like kind of things like that. It focuses like on public speaking and rhetoric. And it focuses on not like just the individuals, but like the interaction between individuals and different things like that. So it's a really cool field. If you're interested in stuff like psych and social and things like that, and you don't know what to do for a major going into college, it's definitely something cool to look into. And the classes are pretty easy as well. Andy Isolar, if I've said that name right, asks about how much does it cost to go to a big event like YCS Anaheim? And then he goes into more detail about that. I think I want to make a whole video about that, kind of like what to expect / prepare for, because I think that'd be a cool video for people to use as a reference if they want to go to an event. They kind of know what to expect, costs, what to bring, things like that. So stay tuned for a video on that. That's a pretty good idea. Vito Lele, again, I probably butchered that, asks, do you support prize money in Yu-Gi-Oh? Oh, absolutely. Anything that encourages more people to play the game is absolutely encouraged in my opinion, because like Magic has it, and like so many other games have money, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't. And I feel like more people would play or want to play competitively if prize money was there. So I'm definitely a huge advocate for that. Slimane FBI asks, how much money did you spend on Yu-Gi-Oh? You don't want to know. Oathkeeper75 asks, top 5 SpongeBob episodes. Fuck, there's so many good ones. And as you guys know, I love SpongeBob because it's pretty much in every meme that I make. Let's see. The chocolate one's really... quite frankly, any one with Patrick, like, being as an emphasis in the episode is just fucking hilarious because of his complete stupidity. Like, that's just, like... It's just like with Ed, Edd, and Eddy. Like, any episode about Ed, for the most part, was my favorite, so it kind of falls in line with SpongeBob. If Patrick was in it, or he was, like, mainly emphasized in the episode, then I liked it. So, like, I really can't think of, like, 5 off the top of my head, but anything with Patrick in it, as you guys pretty much should figure out, is one of my favorites. He's my favorite character. Larinel asks, what do you think is the hardest aspect to understand in this game? Probably chain links or simultaneous effects go on chain. Anything like that seems to be the hardest thing for like newer players to pick up on, because it can be a little bit confusing. Like Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a game that, I mean, it's already probably the most complex card game there is, just in terms of its design. And then when you have stuff like that getting involved and missing the timing and other aspects like that, it's like these unwritten rules that you kind of have to figure out. So I'd probably say those are the hardest aspects. Socks the Avenger asks, do you have a pet? I have a dog who is, if you've been watching me on stream, he just jumps on my bed sometimes and lays there. But I also have a 22-year-old cat who doesn't live with me, but I don't know how that cat's still fucking alive. Link Joker asks, could you do more how to play videos? They're coming, don't worry, I've just been busy. Alex Little asks, where did the name Cimoooooooo come from? So, it's funny enough, so Cimo is my last name, just with 1 O, not 8. And funny enough, I was trying to make like a, like pretty much something that would be across all social media channels, and it took until 8 O's at the very minimum to make it work across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, like everything like that, because someone else had it taken in every other way. And back when I was in high school, my best friends, like, in our PE class, you know, they call us by last name, so people would yell, like, Cimo! So that's why it has, like, the tone and everything to it, too. So now you guys know where the name came from. Ken You Can't Have My Last asks, why do I get sleepy after I touch myself? Well, I think the reason for that is when you actually do touch yourself and release yourself, it actually does release some sort of like hormone or something that for whatever reason makes you tired. I don't know like the biology behind it, I fucking hated bio. But for some reason I think there's something that when it gets released that it just like makes you tired. So there's your answer, now you know. So that's going to do it for this month's Q&A, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Again, remember, if you want your question answered or a chance to have it answered, be sure to leave it down in the comments below, and be sure to thumbs up the ones that you want to see featured on next month's Q&A. So as always, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more Yu-Gi-Oh! Content, back me on Patreon as always, and thank you again. We'll see you next time.